lovely good morning to you, our viewers. Welcome again to another exciting edition of the Camnet TV Breakfast Show. Today being the 23rd of May 2023. I hope you're having a beautiful and a lovely good morning. I am your host Miriam Kaimba, and in studio I'm joined by my beautiful colleague Zipram Shara, where we're going to be taking you for an hour or so and discussing various issues. Among them, the cost of living in our country. Good morning, Zipram.
Good morning, Miriam, and good morning to our lovely viewers. Indeed, we are excited to be here today, especially that we're going to be discussing the cost of living in the country, because I'm sure you know that a lot of controversy has risen in the country on whether we should use graphs or notes to explain how the economy is performing, or whether we should use, the affordability of food as a measure of how the economy is performing. And we will be joined by Chilui, a member of parliament, who's just going to help us discuss, the current cost of living. And of course, we're going to expect some calls from our guests. How is the cost of living treating you? And you can also leave us messages on Facebook.
Exactly, very interesting. But anyway, right about now, go direct into our healthy corner and just see what the doctors have for us this morning.
Good morning. I'm glad that you could join us today on the Health Corner here on the Breakfast Show. I am Dr. Nakupiana Mfaya. So this week we are talking about pneumonia, and we're specifically talking about community-acquired pneumonia. There are other types of pneumonia that we discussed yesterday, such as aspiration pneumonia or chemical pneumonitis that is caused from exposure to chemicals in the environment and other objects in the environment, such as dust and other chemicals as well. So today we'll discuss the people who are at risk of getting pneumonia. Basically, anyone can have pneumonia, so it has got no age specific. So anyone, whether young, whether old, middle-aged, we can all get pneumonia. And there are other people who are at more risk of getting it, such as people who are older than 65 years old. So if you have a mother, a father, a grandparent who is older than 65 years and above, then we need to make sure that they are well protected, and that we help them to prevent them from getting pneumonia, because once they have it, it's more deadly in this age group. And also children, younger children, when they have pneumonia, it's more deadly and more dangerous in the children as well. So we need to protect the children and the old people from getting pneumonia, because the signs in these people, or the course of the disease in these people, is more deadly. Then the other thing is that there are some people who are also at a greater risk of having pneumonia, such as people who have HIV. If you have HIV and you have this infection, then you are likely to get pneumonia, mostly if your viral load is very high or if you are very immunosuppressed. So people who have HIV should protect themselves and make sure that they prevent themselves from getting pneumonia. Then people who smoke as well are at risk of getting pneumonia, because smoking can reduce your immune system, or can cause immunosuppression in your body. So people who smoke need to avoid smoking, because it's dangerous for your body. It's not good for your health. So avoid smoking if you smoke. Then people who take alcohol as well are at an increased risk of getting pneumonia and other infections as well. So taking alcohol, smoking can increase your risk of having infections. So reduce on your alcohol intake and avoid smoking to reduce getting infections from the environment. So Pneumonia can come about when you inhale any kind of bacteria or virus from somebody who is infected. And this is why during the cold season, when it's cold, most people are indoors, and you're in close proximity with so many people, and so you end up getting this infection very easily because of the close contact that we have with people. And contrary to the myth that is there that when it's cold you easily get pneumonia, or when you're cold you can get sick of pneumonia, usually that comes about because you have been in close contact with somebody who has a bacteria or a virus that can cause pneumonia. So in the cold weather, people are very close to each other and they easily get these infections because of the close proximity. So you inhale the bacteria that has been expelled by somebody, and that's how come you can get the infection. So we need to protect ourselves, protect your loved ones, make sure that when you're coughing or when you're sneezing, you cover your mouth so that you don't release so many bacteria in the air for others to inhale, and prevent others from getting sick as well. So tomorrow we'll discuss some of the signs and symptoms. Make sure you watch. If you have any questions, make sure that you can reach out to me on Facebook at Dr. Nakubena Mfaya. And if you need to see or watch other videos that we have discussed here on the Health Corner, then you can watch them on my YouTube channel at Dr. Nakubena Mfaya. I'll see you again next time. Stay blessed and stay healthy.
So that was Dr. Nakubena Mfaya just telling us about community-acquired pneumonia, also known as CAP. I think we began this topic yesterday, and throughout the week she's going to be telling us more about community-acquired pneumonia. And I hope you take, the tips that the doctor has, and remember that these are just tips and not a diagnosis. So always remember to visit your health facility. Just now we'll take a look at the money market to see how our kwacha is performing against major international convertibles. So there we have the Great British Pound buying at 23 kwacha 35 ngwe, selling at 23 kwacha 81 ngwe. The United States dollar, they are buying at 18 kwacha 77 ngwe, selling at 19 kwacha 14 ngwe. The euro buying at 20 kwacha 13 ngwe, selling at 20 kwacha 17 ngwe. The South African rand buying at 0 kwacha 97 ngwe, and selling at 0 kwacha 99 ngwe. So our kwacha on the selling part is on the 19 kwacha mark. We are quickly running to 20 kwacha. And as an import-oriented country, of course, we expect the price of most commodities to go up. No one these days will tell you the definite price. Is this item that I've been trying to buy? So the person asked the person saying, how much was it? So they said, last time it was 2,000. So I'm going to import. Then like when we have the stock, then I'll tell you. Then I'm like, what do you mean?
Yes, exactly, because they need to.
So it can be 3,000 now. It can be more.
4, 5. Can be more.
From 2,000.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
But we hope that the dollar will be trading somewhere at 16 by maybe June, July, somewhere there. But anyway, moving forward to some of the stories that made headlines yesterday. We did see you do a story in Chilenje Mapoloto area of Lusaka, where a 24-year-old man identified as Chamanjovu was allegedly set ablaze and locked in his own house by a group of people for unclear reason. Maybe just speed us up what the story is all about.
Yes, so definitely, Miriam, there's an issue that is happening in Chilenje, and I really think that if we're not careful, it may lead, to disaster. And why do I say that? Like, there's this, if you remember last time we had the issue of the gassing incidents where people were being, killed just upon accusation that this person is, is a gasser, so-called gasser. Now, the issue that has come is that residents of Chilenje have risen up and say that they're going to, exercise mob justice on anyone suspected to be gay. So this means that even if there's no evidence, just as long as you look like maybe a guy who's dressed like a girl, they will do this mob justice on you. So this follows a case where a group of alleged gay people burned someone in his own house after he allegedly rejected a love proposal and had a confrontation with them. So, there's this issue, and you find that when you talk to the police, they gave us the details saying, a number of suspects have been arrested, but I think they avoided the gay part. They did not give us those details. The details, we actually did engage them saying, what is your take on this particular thing? And I think that area was omitted. So I don't know if it's because it's a sensitive thing. I don't know, but that was the report. And even the area councillor there said, narrated the same story saying the group is suspected to be gay, and that is what allegedly occurred. So the residents there now have reason saying anyone suspected to be that is going to, be beaten up. But I think now we need sensitization before a lot of innocent lives are lost, because, sometimes it may seem like a simple thing, but before you know it, it may blow out of proportion. So so this incident happened Saturday night where Chairman Jovu, a 24-year-old shopkeeper, within the community, so he works in a shop, was, burnt in his own house. And according to the community members there, they had a number of things to say. He was allegedly, they allegedly threw petrol on him and set him ablaze and locked him in his own house, something to that effect. And his neighbor, after beating him up, so whereby he could not run away, he was powerless. And his uncle lives just right next to him. So he says, I was sleeping in the night, around road 2, and I heard some noise. So I thought, maybe this is when my nephew has come back from work. But before I knew it, I heard things breaking and all that, and I knew that was a fire. I came out, we rescued him, but he was severely burned. And he died at UTH, Sunday morning around 10 hours. Interesting.
You did also speak to the grandmother, Christine Chilonda, who said that the young man died Sunday morning at the University Teaching Hospital from the burns. Have you spoken to the family to find out what the next course of action they would like to take?
Yes, basically they're just calling for justice in the matter. They're saying just because the family is poor, they should not see the matter die. Like they have allegedly seen many other cases die. So they're saying they're calling for justice. He had a bright future ahead of him, and his mother was even crying, saying he's the one I was relying on to take care of me. But he's gone in an instant. So it's really crazy. Anyway, let's just take a look. And I think we officially open our phone lines where viewers can call in and participate. Right now we're discussing trending issues, among them the incident that happened in Chilenge. And at 8 hours, we're going to be discussing the cost of living in Zambia.
Interesting. Yeah, exactly. So if you're watching us live on Facebook, please drop those messages. And those watching us in the comfort of your home, please make sure that you do call us and participate in our discussion this morning. But right about now, let's go direct into playing that story that was done by our reporter Zipporah Mshaya in Chilenge.
At only 24, Chairman Jovu, a shopkeeper of Mapoloto area in Lusaka's Chilenge Township, is a victim of an alleged misunderstanding that occurred between him and a group of known people within the community Saturday night, leading to him being burnt in his own house. Relatives of the deceased report that a wrangle ensued Saturday night in the same community after he allegedly denied the gay love proposal, which led to a confrontation and the victim being burnt alive in his own house. According to his relatives, the victim died Sunday morning at the University Teaching Hospital, UTH.
Lelo twaluza abantu osabachosa boma yanganepo basachoke na beve bafunika na beve baende kwa mene kwa enda chama mwana kanimono mwana lero enda munga nkumba apya mubiri wose kwa machitu baba zona.
I just want justice to prevail for these people, please. Please, just for my lady, man, woman, affairs, please, Papa. Government yanganepo, but if I'm never stick up on one, I tell you, I'm a ninja, to know this person up at me, just catch a Lungala yangane. Amvera che vinto. Poi capina amvera festi do ya lira pa festi. Capina depe abwera mwini. Ningali ngoni ngaine ninze goni. So by the time kuti namomvera futi vintu vamuchati popo. Waona mungati muntu akwanya vintu. Dipenda ngara force manje kutoka manje. Nitoke. Dipenda ona muri.
This is not something that community members have taken lightly.
Mwina wake abwera bamflashinga ama lights. Pera mflashinga ama lights achoke munjira ati bapite na unakutapa moto ya paka kusogoro kwake bamba kumucha na bana muchaira kapa bana mtenga baenda kumpeka mba makapa bana mtia na petro banaenda like for an hour again babwelera futhi batenga cha machezi kumubusha
tapapata mucho sema ge kuno konse in fact the whole Zambia mageva bachose chikwa bambo tipaila bana aba amene oge right ngati zona kuli muntu amene anayisaina mulungu azampanisha mulungu chifukwa mulungu mbible analesa kuti there will be no one who will be having carnal knowledge with a man to a man.
Chilenje Ward 8 Councillor Ruben Mwenya also added a word.
Somewhere around 0102, I think that young man was burnt alive. We're believing that he should have been a petrol bomb, something like that. Basically, that is what happened. Currently, this same gays, or this group of people who have been identified as gays, they've been detained and awaiting investigations. We just want to assure the family to the deceased gentleman that justice will surely prevail.
According to Zambia Police Deputy Spokesperson Danny Mwale, a number of suspects are currently being held at Chilenje Police Station while investigations are ongoing. A number of community members have however called for sensitization in the community before innocent lives are lost. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Quite a sad story. We do send our condolences to the family, and we hope that the court process will be speedy, so that we see exactly and get the details of what really happened, and those who committed the alleged brutal offense are brought to book. It's quite sad that the young man at only 24 could lose his life in such a circumstance. He had a very bright future ahead of him. I'm sure maybe he wanted to go to college and be something later on in future, study whatever he wants, and then your life is cut short like that. It's quite sad. Quite sad.
And please do call us and join in the conversation. We are discussing trending issues right now. Among them, the death in Chilenje of the young man there who was allegedly set ablaze in his own house. What is your take on the criminal activities happening in our community?
And one thing, Zipporah, I would like to have a full detailed report from the police. Was it an issue of people who they suspect of being gay who did that to him? Zambia is a Christian nation. We don't. I don't think anyone would tolerate proposing a love proposal to a fellow man or woman who won't accept that. And besides, it's against the law. It's against our law. So
and the UPN has actually stated that they're not in support. So
not in support.
I don't even know where this is coming from.
And if that's the reason why they're saying no, because he denied a proposal from his fellow men, then those people, it's a crime already. Need to be arrested. It's quite sad.
We need to make an example of.
It's quite sad. It's quite sad.
And do join us in the conversation with that story. And Miriam, we do have another story, which Patrick did, where he did a story with a man identified as Lasford Sinyangwe, who's an adolescent living with HIV, who shared with Camnet News that HIV is not a death sentence, but an opportunity to live life differently. Mr. Sinyangwe, who got HIV through mother-child transmission, has called on young people to seek counseling services when diagnosed with HIV and know how to live a positive but healthy life. He says being HIV positive is not an excuse to be promiscuous and start infecting others with the virus. He says organizations like the Development Aid for People-to-People DAP have been playing a huge role in helping young people to realize the full potential despite being HIV positive. I think Miriam, it's been long since we heard, stories about HIV. It's like everyone just wants to forget about it.
Who wants to forget about it? But HIV is real, and the sad part is that I'm glad that someone can come forth and encourage other people not to start living in a very sinful way or sinful matter where they start now spreading the disease to other people by sexually transmitting it. It's quite sad that a lot of people have been doing that. It's not a death trap when you find yourself you're positive. That's why we have counselors there. Basically, when you go to the clinic, according to what I know, when you go to the clinic and then you are found HIV positive, basically you will find counselors there who will tell you, you guide you and help you, because the news that you receive, most of the time when people receive the news that they are HIV positive, Zipporah, you'll find that the only thing they think about is that I am dying now.
And you find that many people died from COVID. And those people with HIV even remain. People have been living for years and years. And I think a long time ago used to have even these books. If you remember those books where these stories about HIV, how this person got it. I don't know if you remember those books. Yeah, those books where they were sensitizing people, story books. And I think these days we don't really see much. Has everybody forgotten about HIV? Are we now talking about, coronavirus? What happened? What is the real issue? I think we need more sensitization. So anyway, many people do have it, but we need to make sure that we do not stigmatize. I think all that is important.
It's very, very important. And also a word of caution to the young people. When you find yourself in such a situation, this is not the end of your life. You should be an example there by encouraging other people, to stay and live in a very good, healthy manner. The news that now, because of HIV, I'm going to, live my life carelessly, abusing drugs, abusing alcohol and stuff like that. No, we don't want to see you involving yourself in
and infecting others,
And infecting others, yeah.
We've heard many stories, in these marriages saying, this man hacked his wife after he found this bottle of ARVs hidden in the sofa.
Yes.
Behind in the sofa somewhere there.
People, you should understand that when you're a couple, it's different. You need to inform your partner that this is my status.
So that you can take it PrEP and all those other things.
Exactly, because if you don't tell them, you are taking the drugs, what about them? They are not, meaning they'll also be infected.
And what really worries me is that, for example, in this story, this man got it through mother-child transmission. And he's an adolescent. I'm wondering, an adolescent meaning is, maybe in the teenage years. We have this protection of mother-child health. How possible is it?
The thing is, some mothers do not follow all the instructions that they're given by the doctors.
Maybe like breastfeeding?
Yes. You need to follow. That's why they always encourage that if you're pregnant, please make sure that you visit your healthy facility. Not that, no, no, please go to the clinic. The doctors are trained. They will guide you and help you.
And you see people breastfeeding. So I'm wondering, when I see everyone breastfeeding, I'm like, so everyone here is negative what? But that's dangerous, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If someone is positive, they have to make sure that they follow all the right procedures, protect their own children. Anyway, let's just take a look at that story. But remember to join us in the conversation as we discuss this and many other trending issues.
About 1.3 million people in Zambia live with HIV. As of the year 2021, the country recorded 38,000 new HIV infections, of which adolescents accounted for about 40%. Inasmuch as the country has made progress in addressing the HIV pandemic, more still needs to be done in enforcing HIV-responsive interventions. And certainly, young people continue to be at risk. Lasfo Sinyangwe is an adolescent who lives in Lusaka and got infected through transmission from mother to child, as he shares his story with Camnet News.
11 years old. That's when I discovered that I was HIV positive, but I was taking my drugs even way before I knew to say I was HIV positive. And unfortunately, nobody came to disclose to me, or not even my family members or my sisters, but I just discovered it on my own through the facility. I needed to see a good in being HIV positive. And that good was, it made me know, it introduced me to many people, and I joined the support group at Chipakers in the hospital, and that really impacted me a lot to know to say, okay, I'm not the only one who is HIV positive, or I'm not the only one living with HIV. And for me, that was a plus because it gave me confidence, it boosted my self-esteem, and I was able to just, be free and say, okay, wow, this is me, this is who I am.
It says being HIV positive is not a prerequisite to be promiscuous and start infecting others with the virus. He underscored the need to improve adolescent health service provision in health facilities and communities.
Need for every facility to have a friendly space whereby a young person can go there. When they go there, then they access any service that they want because they'll be talking to their fellow peer. That way they won't even be stigmatized or discriminated in any way.
He adds that organizations like the Development Aid of People to People, DAPP, play a huge role in helping young people to realize their potential despite being HIV positive.
Support there. We've been having a lot of organizations like DAP, for example. They bring support in our group, whereby they will help us with something. Maybe they bring clothes, and we have that, that empowerment of saying, okay, let's showcase our skills. We just, make face masks, usable face masks, we make donuts, and if we want to just use them or if we want to sell them, and that's just an empowerment on our part as young people.
Jabez Kayanda is the DAPP Resource Mobilization Officer.
Mental health for the young people, it means that they will know about sustaining themselves, those who are HIV positive, and are able to live longer because they will deal with their situation and they will understand that if my friend is living positively, what about myself? So those are services which we are providing to these young people. Some they are running like goat farming, some they are doing gardening, some they are doing different activities in the communities where they are.
During the Media Science Cafe in Lusaka, we also spoke to Ministry of Health spokesperson Dr. Kalangwa on what they are doing to improve adolescent health service provision in the country.
So we can't do anything for adolescents without the adolescents themselves. So this is one of the strategies that we're doing, and we really want to make sure that we raise the fight against HIV in adolescents, because data actually shows that we had quite a lot of new infections among that age group.
Well, it is true that HIV is no longer a death sentence, but an opportunity to live life differently and healthy. Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
I love the last part, the last clip where women are dancing. But anyway, there you have it, and I hope, that young people would be able, to learn something from that young man who is HIV positive, but is there encouraging other people. You say, this is not the end of the life, you can do something better with your future, and it's not the time that, you need to live a careless life. Yeah.
And I think, Miriam, it's high time that people say treating HIV as a normal disease. You should not encourage people, to be like, depressed. I think maybe you need to invest more in mental health services, because where do you need to now segregate? And you know that just the very segregation saying with these people have got HIV, therefore going to help them like this. It just gives you so I'm not normal. Why is it that I'm being helped like this? You know what I mean? So I think we need that investment in mental health and to encourage people, because you need to encourage them to work hard in life, just like any other person.
Yeah.
Because it's not even about having a death sentence. None of us knows. You can die in an accident, anything can happen, and a person with HIV even remains. So we need to, train people to live a normal life, to have goals. No one will say, okay, I will not study after I've got HIV. I will not go to school after, you know what I mean? Yeah, so we need to encourage them to live a normal and healthy life.
Quite interesting. But anyway, just for our viewers, in case you have just joined us, we have finally officially opened our phone lines. Those watching us live on Facebook, please drop us a message and we'll be able to read your message through. We are looking at the cost of living in Zambia. What is your take there? We have seen a lot of controversy. The church, the Zippo, coming on board, giving their opinions on the recent address that the president had on the nation, and explaining about the graphs and stuff like that, where we saw certain church leaders saying, you know what, those in Mississippi compound do not understand about graphs and stuff like that. All they want is, the cost of living, the commodities, the price of commodities, to reduce. Anyway, I really don't know exactly if you as a reporter, you have been on the grind for quite some time in doing various stories, especially in the community. If you interview people, how has been your interaction with people when it comes to how things are moving in the country?
Well, I think people are generally expecting, the cost of living, in fact, Zambians, I think, are just expecting the price of commodities to reduce. And Miriam, I was watching, this, what do you call them, whereby you're given, is it a minute to get what you want? And I think I was watching one from Zambia, then I saw another one from another country. You find that down from Zambia, if you're given, those shopping dashes, if you're given 1 minute, all the people are asking for unga, cooking oil. So they are from the Western world, they're rushing for electronic gadgets. And so it just shows you that, just Africa as a whole, like our priority is food. And if you look at that hierarchy of needs, it means that, we're still at the very base, because food for us is an issue. But for those people who are rushing for gadgets, it means that they have the very basics, which is food. They're now thinking of other things. But for us, it's wunga. Then people, people in the comments, if it's live, they'll be like, why you had a salad?
What was cooking on mini meal?
So,
very essential. Yeah, but moving forward, Zippo, on Sunday I was on the ground and I did interact with some certain residents of Lusaka Mtendere East who complained and said, the cost of mini meal, it's quite high at the moment. Not everyone can afford buying a 25 kg bag of mini meal at 200 kwacha. Others are selling at 210 kwacha. That shows you. And again, the other concern or the argument is that we have the millers in Zambia. It's not like we're exporting mini meal from other countries, and it's not like we're going to say no. The war and Ukraine war is affecting us and stuff like that. Mini meal is locally made, so why have we continued seeing that the price is still increasing? And we did see other people saying that we need to hold the United Party for National Development accountable, because when they were coming into power, the time they were in opposition, they did promise that a 25 kg bag of mini meal will be costing at 50 kwacha. And we need to see that. That has been the major concern from people.
But anyway, I'll not speak for them, I'm not the spokesperson.
Exactly.
Anyway, let's just take a look at a story, ma'am, that
but we did see spokesperson for Ministry of Information, Mr. Tao Kawana, recently saying that indeed the United Party for National Development is working toward that goal of ensuring that a 25 kg bag of mini meal is sold at 50 kwacha. We hope that we'll be able to reach that goal very soon.
And I think really if we're to reach that goal, we have to get rid of the debt, Miriam.
Yeah.
The debt issue is really, straining us as a country. Imagine, Miriam, if you've got debt as a president.
And that has been the focus of the UPND when they came into power, ensuring that we get rid of the debt. That because a lot of things that is affecting us as a country is because the debt also,
It's like pouring milk in a basket. Imagine yourself, if you've got a lot of loans, you get paid, that money just keeps going into the loans, remain poor. That's how we are as a country. No matter how much money we make.
And it shows you something. This is the high time that as a country we should be thinking about industrialization, production. Why should we be importing each and everything? No, we have people we have young people, like we saw the young man yesterday, making fertilizer from cow dung. We have people who can come up with good innovations. So we need young people, we need to have this mentality. We need to move from this mentality of always wanting to import things. We need to go the industrialization way. We need to start making our own things, and then we import to other countries. In return, we can gain revenue. Yeah,
quite interesting. So yesterday we did see, Father Anthony Salangata, from St. Regina Passis Catholic Parish in Chawama there, who on Sunday allegedly uttered some sentiments. So of course this follows the press briefing that was held by the head of state on 18th May. I think we'll actually begin by playing, the story of the head of state on 18th May, then followed by that, so that we have, a proper transition. So, a number of, graphs were used, Miriam. I'm trying very hard to laugh because everything has been, dramatized. Yeah, so, a number of graphs were used, to show how the economy is performing, the country's gross domestic product, how we're growing as a country. And then now there are those sentiments saying, some vulnerable citizens do not even understand those graphs. For them, if you want to make a message to communicate showing how the economy is performing, that it is performing well, for them it's all about being able to afford food. So of course we heard a lot of divergent views on that. Anyway, just our viewers, remember that our phone lines are open. You can comment on anything that you want to comment on. Earlier we were playing a story from Chilenje where a man was allegedly burnt alive in his house, after, some incident with an alleged group of people suspected to be gay. And then later, we also played a story to do with HIV/AIDS. What is the current state of HIV/AIDS? I was speaking enough about it, and now we are discussing the current cost of living in Zambia, premised on the press briefing by President Hakainde Hichilema, and where we saw, a Catholic father actually reacting to that statement. So let's just take a look at those two stories. The first one, the presidential press briefing, and the response from the Catholic father.
Wednesday, 19th May 2023, Republican President Hakainde Hichilema took the stand to address the nation through the press. Just like his recent address, the president did not miss his words in assuring the nation on the need to unlock the economy by addressing bureaucracies. The president bragged about growing the economy based on historical and current economic trends as produced by the Bank of Zambia.
The problems of restructuring the economy lingered on, and 1994 we went down by growth dramatically. But President Chiluba had already started planting the seed, digging the foundation. You heard me talk about digging the foundation here. 4 years later, from 1991, 3 years later, the fruit was not yet ripe, and we dipped down and started again. It takes a bit of time. So that's my answer to your question. It's Zambians to understand that graph, that we're on the right path. Any reversal to what we're doing would damage us as a nation.
The president also used the occasion to direct CEEC to localize milling plant to reduce the cost of milling by providing capital to interested investors. And the president has since challenged his critics to demonstrate alternative policies that improve the local economy.
I wish to pose a question to my colleagues in the opposition who have a genuine role to play in a country. Let me pose a question to you, and through you, the journalists, pose this question to them. We ask our colleagues in the opposition to provide alternatives to these policies. Because situation we inherited took down part of that decline in growth came from the mining sector. Now we need to ramp it up. Complex legal issues we found ourselves in, but we are disentangling this. We've taken a decision. We will not do business in courts, in mining or in other sectors.
The president said he is not being rhetorical, but practical in governing the nation.
That's not rhetoric, my sister. Getting the IMF program, IMF to support us in our request as our member. IMF is our institution. The colleagues that were there, by 2019 they realized they were losing things, they were doing wrong things. They went to IMF 2 or 3 times. IMF said, no, you have no capacity to manage a program. We come 6 months down the road, we met all the benchmarks. That's not rhetoric. It doesn't come from rhetoric. It comes from hard work, ingenious work, deliberate work. You may not like us. That's okay.
Nelson Zulu for Camnet News in Lusaka.
The use of graphs by the head of state during his engagement with the media on 18th May 2023 has sparked a lot of debate in the country, with some stakeholders stating that this is important as it gives a clear picture of how the economy is performing, and others indicating that a large population of uneducated citizens were not considered as they could not follow. Others still have been indicating that many citizens are only interested in affording food and not in technical explanations of how well the economy is performing, the likes of Father Anthony Salangeta of Regina Pass's Catholic Parish in Chawama, who allegedly made the sentiments on Sunday during Mass service.
GDP varirimba namagrafu millennium development goals Zambia will reach sub-chanya. Zambia reaching amasafu yanga narumba magrafu kwa misisi grafu kwa misisi rutoshi wa manye kwa misisi kutafi kwa jack rutoshi wa manye kulipa tembo alenu kuisa punch not low graph no hata ukwete wani ubunga Mzambia tapale fiori.
The ruling United Party for National Development, UPND, through its Religious Affairs Committee chairperson, Reverend William Jombo, has responded to the sentiments.
Those poor people, every other Sunday, they come to church with gifts in form of food, foodstuffs, cooking oil, meal, eggs, goats, and all those things are presented and given to the priests, and they live on that. Why should the same priest in turn, turn and castigate or say these people are poor, and why should and blame government for it? I think rather than look to government for everything, we must know that as Christians and as clergymen and women, we have a responsibility to help our congregants, to encourage them, to inculcate the spirit of hard work, the spirit of investment, to inculcate the spirit of working together to ensure that we can reverse poverty in this country, and not to go to the pulpit and put a blame on a leadership that is doing so much to reverse the poverty levels in this country have. So
he has advised the church to show leadership through offering sound advice and not what he has termed as playing politics. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka. Quite an interesting story there. Miriam, I don't know your take on the graphs.
But one thing also would like the current administration to do is when they're explaining their developmental mode, what they're doing for this country, they should use simpler language so that people are able to understand. A citizen in Misisi, a resident of Misisi, a resident of Kanyama, of Jonlen, of Shangombo, they're able to understand what message the ruling party is trying to communicate to the people and what exactly they are doing to ensure that they improve the lives of the people. It's quite difficult, Zipporah, that yes, a lot of people might not understand when you're using graphs what GDP means, what people will not be able to understand. All they'll think about is that ungano dola mkombon. All they'll think about is that sarajinyo dola. Okay? So if people are able to, calm down, that's why we have councillors. Okay? We have councillors. Councillors should be going in this, organize a certain meeting. Organize a meeting. Try to make people understand what is going on exactly, so that people will be able to appreciate, okay, this is what the current government is doing. We are at this stage, and later on, maybe 3-4 months from now, we expect things to improve like this. That definitely people will be able to appreciate the message that that the ruling party will be communicating with them. And we're talking about how to communicate effectively. We did see you yesterday doing a story with the Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia.
I think we do have a call, Miriam.
Anyway, let's take that call before we go direct into playing the story. Hello, good morning.
Hello, morning.
You are through to the Camnet TV Breakfast Show. Who are we talking to this morning?
You are talking from Northwestern.
It's good to know that Northwestern is watching us this morning. Please go ahead with your contribution, sir.
My contribution is about the same partner or the public activity. The first after was very good because the president is trying to explain to Zambia how the economy is. Because now, that's how they about politics, about the way to now was disappointed with the voice which is taken Sunday. Yes, mother.
Thank you so much for your contribution.
You're welcome.
So yesterday we did see the Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia urging the United Party for National Development administration to develop a mode of communication that will ensure that ordinary citizens understand its message. Like I said earlier on, a lot of people, Zipporah, yes, we did see the president, explaining the graphs there, the GDP, how we are, but a lot of people in Mississippi compound, like I said, Kanyama will not be able to understand what exactly those graphs means. Okay, so we need a mode of communication to ensure that ordinary people understand the message that the current administration is trying to communicate to them, so that they can appreciate that, okay, we're at this stage of life, this is how things are moving, we expect things to improve maybe later after 6 months, so that people will be able to know. And that way you won't find anyone just complaining, you won't find that, because people will understand that they feel to be part of this process of ensuring that we develop our country and achieve the goal of becoming a prosperous middle-income country by 2030. We don't want to leave anyone behind. If we're going to be explaining things, meaning everyone, every citizen of this country should be able to understand those things. Yeah.
Definitely. And then let's just take a look at that story, but remember to join us in the conversation. And I think another question has been raised there, Miriam, by our viewer, who was saying politicians should just stick to preaching. And many others have argued
pastors should stick to preaching.
Oh, yeah, pastors, men of God should stick to preaching. But we've heard arguments, saying, they have to talk about daily issues affecting people. And they've also quoted saying, many people in the Bible are leaders. David was a king. Isn't that politics? That is the defense. I don't know if that is true, but anyway, let's just take a look at that story and join us in the conversation. The ruling United Party for National Development, UPND, has been highly criticized by opposition political parties for allegedly failing to fulfill its promises to the Zambian people, and the ruling party has, through various media platforms, been laboring to explain its achievements made so far. The Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia, EFZ, through its executive director, Bishop Andrew Mwenda, says the current administration needs to develop a people-based approach of communication, stating that while it has made progress, the UPND is failing to effectively communicate its message. The bishop has also called for unity ahead of African Freedom Day on 25th May 2023, while urging the UPND to address pertinent issues in the country, among them the high cost of living.
Rivalry will always be there because these political parties are different opinions. That's what it means. Rivalry means that if there's political kind of opinions on how the country must be run, there will be rivalry. Just like it's in a home, you will have a husband and a wife, they may not agree, but that does not mean they can't live together. They will have to live together. So I can say to you that as far as we're concerned, the speech of the president was good, but it passed on the heads of the people. But let me just say this, that we as EFZ expected the president to cover. We expected the government or the president to deal on the issue and share with us the direction the government is taking on Mopani and KCM. It's an issue that must not continue. We don't know. They have not given us the fullness of what really is the legal issue which is standing in between here, what is happening. No, but at least they must give the nation what's happening with KCM and Mopani. Number two is we expected the government and the president in particular, through whichever way he could have done it, to share with us on the gold discovery, particularly here in Northwestern Province and some of the provinces, how it can find a way to legally begin to benefit the citizens of Zambia.
Meanwhile, speaking on the same, the Governance Elections Advocacy Research Services GEARS initiative, through its advisory council chairperson Lakson Lungu, has also added its voice on governance issues.
From the president's speech, we could see that indeed the government has taken some time to ensure a positive outlook for our economy. And we understand that if that positive outlook is sustained, then we as a country are likely to see the benefits accruing to the people and thereby making the lives of the people better.
He states that the current administration should be commended for its willingness to engage with the Zambian people and for its progress made so far. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka. So that was the Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia, as well as the GEARS initiative, just giving their take on the presidential press briefing. And as we heard from the Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia, they had a number of issues that they would have liked to be addressed, by those issues were not addressed. For example, the issue of KCM and Mopani, they were not adequately addressed. So there, the executive director, Bishop Andrew Mwenda, is saying, we're in limbo. We don't know exactly what is happening. We're just told progress is being made. But what is the current status in terms of the court case regarding those two mines? What is the issue? And this morning, Miriam, we've heard the chairperson for mines in the UPND, just issuing a statement, this morning saying that, everyone, politicians and everyone commenting on the issue of KCM and, just destroying investor confidence. Is that true? Or are people just, asking questions concerning the mines?
People are asking questions because these are the biggest mines that we have in the country. They contribute greatly to our country's economy. So if people are trying to find out the position, the current position where we lie with this issue, we can't say that we are trying to make investors run away or remove investors' confidence. No, that shouldn't be the position. Anyway,
we have a caller.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. You're through to the Camnet TV Breakfast Show. Who are we talking to this morning?
You are talking to Elvis Simakalanga Wansha.
It's good to know that Wansha is watching us this morning. Please go ahead with your contribution, sir.
Thank you very much. We are enjoying the discussion.
Yes, thank you. Please go ahead.
It is so sad that great men can involve themselves in politics. And I think, for one, the president was in the right direction. Because it is from abstract that you can come to practical issues. The president was trying to enlighten us where we are coming from, how we are moving, and our way forward. Whereby some people are just interested in the other way around. The man of God was not supposed to use the altar as a battlefield to attack the president. And this is a wake-up call probably to the information in regard to UPND, because the president cannot retaliate over such things. All what we are interested as ordinary citizens is to see what the president is planning, what is he intending to do for the nation, so that we can patch up all the loopholes that have been damaged by the previous government. We are really appreciating what the president is doing. And for your own information, you are talking to a WDC chairperson who knows what the government has put in place. So let's just support what the president is doing, and it definitely will be there by 2026. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your contribution. So that is a positive sentiment there. The WDC member is optimistic that by 2026 we're going to have our desired goal.
Maybe it's boring. Just a quick question to you.
Don't.
No, a quick question to you, and I would like you to give me your response in a journalistic way of your thinking. Okay. Do you think the church at the moment, when we talk about, they should be using the pulpit, to start talking about political matters?
Well, I think for me, basically, it all matters about how the message is put across. For example,
Hello, good morning.
Morning, how are you?
We are fine, thank you, sir. How are you?
Yes, I want also to comment
Please, who are we talking to this morning?
Kayombo from Kaoma.
It's good to know that Kaoma is watching us. Please go ahead with your contribution.
Yes. You say when people talk about economy, that priest was right. We must not be just attacking priests, pastors. No. That man was right. What he was saying is the positiveness of the economy, as the community are talking, it must be felt down. My sister, take your cameras and come to Kaoma. Take your cameras and go to Wampa. Take your cameras and go to, Stoti there. You'll find that people there are completely suffering. The positiveness of that outlook of that economy is what you felt. That's what people are talking. Please, let's not confuse ourselves. What is on the ground is different from what is on the paper. The economy now, which is being spoken on paper, is not on the ground. That's what people are saying. So let's have the mind of hearing what people are saying. This is what happened even in the MMD. You remember that the dollar was at 5 kwacha, the time when Walpia Panda was there. 5 kwacha. That was around 2009, 2010. But the question was, why was it that MMD was taxed out? It was because the people on the ground, they were not feeling the positiveness of what was being elaborated on paper. So this is what again is going to happen. So this issue of talking of PF, may have not PF, but may have the personal communicated mind following the political, scene in this country. I've been following. And we are already seeing that our colleagues who are ruling now, they are overrating themselves. If you come to Western Province here, you hear what people are saying on the ground. It is something else. So please, let's have a mind of accepting that people on the ground are suffering. That's what that priest was trying to portray. So we must not always criticize, because we belong to this party. No! When people have spoken, this thing is not right, you check it. That's how white people behave. Anyway, thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you so much for your contribution, sir.
And you.
I think we need a moment of silence. So the man there from Kaoma says people on the ground are suffering.
They are not feeling the impact. That is what I was saying, Zipporah. If we're going to say we are going to use this mode of communicating to the ordinary citizens, people need to understand, okay? We should not use complicated messages when we're trying to explain to our citizen, the ordinary citizen, of what exactly the current administration is doing. We should use simple language that someone in Shangombo, someone in Kaoma, someone in Mississippi, someone in what, they'll be able to understand Zipporah and appreciate the fact that, okay, government is working toward this, and this is just like during the campaigns. During the campaign, they won't come with these complicated things. No, we have this, the economy has grown. No, they'll tell you, minimum will be at 50 kwacha. It's a straightforward message.
Don't bring you graphs.
Someone who is able to understand, okay? But yes, we have seen the graphs, and we appreciate that. That's a very good way of communicating.
So I think,
but it should be broken down so that ordinary citizens will be able to appreciate it. And I love the fact that the president has, gotten this notion of trying to engage with the public time to time to explain how things are moving. I love the fact that he's doing that.
Openness.
Yes, I love the fact that he's doing that, because people want to know exactly what he's doing, what his vision is. Yes, we have seen, we saw that they gave us their manifesto, but we want to see, are they working toward that? That is what people want to see.
But then there's another issue, Miriam, where the current administration has been stating that, of course, they made these promises, but they've been stating that it is hard for them to actualize that because of the situation they found, with the empty coffers. So maybe their ideal plan, their ideal manifesto is that in the event that there's no debt the coffers are full. This is what we want to do. Maybe you should also consider that. Did they plan on dates? Should people be planning based on dates?
But Zipporah, one thing that we should also be reminded of is when they were seeking office, they knew that the country was owing people money.
I think the manifestos there should be like, maybe they should, to make them more realistic, people should also plan in the event that there is debt.
They knew that debt was there. Any government that comes in power, they know that, okay, as a country, we have credited money from other countries and we need to clear off this debt. They knew that. And they had plans on how they were going to, clear off this debt.
Anyway, speaking of checks and balances, Miriam, the president had challenged the opposition to give effective checks and balances. We saw, a former Kawushi member of parliament, and, he was also a PF presidential hopeful, but he said he will announce his plans, whether he intends to start, and that is Honorable Bowman Lusambo, just giving his checks and balances to the UPN administration. Let's take a look at that story.
Opposition political party leaders seem to be responding to the call by Zambia's President Hakainde Hichilema that those with solutions to the current economic challenges should come forth and offer the solutions rather than offering unnecessary criticisms. Former Lusaka Province Minister Bowman Lusambo has joined the league of those advising President Hichilema on how to handle the Zambian economy. Addressing journalists at a media briefing in Lusaka Saturday morning, Mr. Lusambo has advised government to find a quick solution to the mining challenges on the Copper Belt before the end of June 2023, failure to which the people on the Copper Belt will protest.
Mr. President, if you lose Copper Belt province the way it is today, my advice to you is just start packing your bags, because 2026 is not yours. But President, let me quite have mistakes. Monse, agriculture, muli mistake. Health, muli mistake. Mining, muli mistake. Takwala. And our President, if we have a Copper Belt, not to me pay up to June. Ngata mwaka sorting ama problems aya Copper Belt by June. We are going to mobilize ourselves and do demonstrations, because enough is enough.
Meanwhile, Mr. Lusambo has advised President Hichilema to engage the former President Edgar Lungu to meet the Chinese president to negotiate Zambia's debt challenges.
President ngabaya ku China ifine ifyuko abula special envoy. Ba China bakaya abapokerera ba president nokubalolesha. Bakafumeko nokufumako. Tapali fika chitika. President, my challenge is that go to your brother, President Lungu, and let President Lungu be your special envoy to China, so that we cross this.
On the other hand, the former minister also says it is rumored that the low sulfur diesel that is being currently imported into Zambia is of low quality and has been damaging vehicles, hence calling on the Energy Regulation Board to investigate the matter.
Information which we have, that fuel which we are bringing in, the diesel, it is not low sulfur. It is destroying the vehicles of the citizens. And we want you, Mr. President, to engage ERB and verify this information. Calculations are more equated with the opposition. Now they want to join because to encourage. To encourage sana. Njebede Zambia nomba ya wama. A President Jopo Mwaishira fia liluva fionse fia liluva. So nomba ifo today twishikande. Nomba President fidabale tweva fia ya kui. So ndafo kwipisha mudamu chi state house limbi mwa vendosh. Pantu teti ba President mulabe fionse of malela ya bantu.
The former minister has also touched on the high price that government has offered farmers for a 50-kilogram bag of maize and says it will affect the price of mealie meal, hence calling on the government to provide alternative solutions to cushion the high price of Zambia's staple food.
Tientumfileko abantu luse ba president. Soya beans shteni ba government. For any mpia mushte soya beans.
The former minister has since cautioned European countries to stop resolving African challenges outside of the continent but come to Africa and hold meetings pertaining to Africa on the African continent. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Quite interesting views there. We have seen that the former Kamushi area member of parliament, Mr. Boma Nusambodea, just offering his checks and balance to the current administration after the president, recently challenged the opposition to be offering critical checks and balance to the current administration. I'm just wondering, Zipporah, the 5 years, the June deadline that Mr. Lusamba has given to the president.
Yes. So he said they're going to organize protests on the copper belt if, serious headway is not announced on the way forward concerning Mopani and KCM. And so someone, a journalist, asked, saying, and who's going to spearhead that protest? Are you yourselves going? And then he says, do we have a comment? And then he says, we ourselves, the residents, are going, the residents themselves, according to Mr. Lusambo, he says, the residents themselves are going to spearhead the protest. So is it that they're going to tell them, or they're just going to raise? Because if you say by June, it means there's a plan.
There's a plan already.
So are you predicting that there is in June? Is it a prophecy? So it means that there may be some serious work in the background being done. So,
but anyway, just
like
what the president said, that we hope that the KCM issue will be able to be resolved quickly from the court cases. And there's also an issue of resolving the matter outside court, or settling the litigation outside court, which is a very good thing. But we hope that an investor who is going to be brought in by the government.
And court processes, Miriam, can take even 20 years.
They have already dragged.
We're going to be in limbo for 20 years. Imagine you give birth to a child, they grow up, and you just find the court case, court. I think we need, according to what stakeholders have been calling, things that pretend, that things of national interest, they need to be dealt with away from the court, Miriam.
Yeah, just like the way we have seen that the current administration trying to resolve the KCM issue outside court. Yeah, so
you just say, no, according to this, according to this, according to this act, according to that, this is. Someone exercises that authority, for example, the Minister of Mines, and you reach a desirable conclusion.
Exactly. Opposition offering checks and balance. Do you think they're doing enough to the current administration? And those from the church, Zippo, before I forget, I did pose you an earlier question to you. In your general view, Zippo, as a journalist who has been on the ground for so long, do you think the church is in the right position to bring politics to the pulpit?
Well, Miriam, like I said earlier, whereby I think it depends on the way that they put it. It can either be called politics or not. For example, we're always hearing, the current administration saying, let different stakeholders give us the credible checks and balances. So, of course, we need the voice of civil society organizations. We need the voice of the international community. We also need the voice of the church, Zambia being a Christian nation. So, for example, if you're talking about issues of morality, the church can come in and discuss all those things. If people are suffering, if people are hungry, the church can come. But I think it matters like how it is put across. It can either come across as mockery or as checks and balances. So there's that distinction. And this is what leads to people saying, oh, this person is from this church is supposed to that. So I think the way it is put across matters.
But the church still has a voice to play in terms of offering checks and balance to the current administration. They are part of stakeholders, and we did see the president, calling on the church to help. He did say that, we are not in competition with the church. The church should come on board and help us, develop as a country.
Definitely. And on Saturday, Miriam also saw Dr. Richard Silumbe from the Leadership Movement Party also moving in and giving his view on the current cost of living in the country. Let's just take a look at that story. Zambia as a country is aggressively fighting to end hunger and poverty in all its forms, and these goals are placed as number 1 and 2 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which Zambia is signatory to, and only has 7 years until 2030, which is the scheduled deadline. Each administration that takes over government is therefore expected to drive these goals, and the now ruling United Party for National Development UPND rose on the platform of change, with the main emphasis being that of improving the lives of the Zambian people. The opposition Leadership Movement Party, led by Richard Silumbe, Saturday morning took time to respond to the press briefing, which was held by President Hakainde Hichilema on Thursday, with the party president stating that the press briefing did not address some key components, such as the current high cost of living in the country.
We know that every Zambian out there knows the state of this country. We don't need some theorist, economist to draw some graph in an office and show us how this country is developing, whilst 100 kwacha that used to buy a bag of meal some 3 years ago can no longer buy that bag of meal. A 20 kwacha that used to have value some 3 years ago can no longer do anything. So that is the great tragedy that we are facing today. That's why it is folly for the leadership of the New Dawn government to tell the Zambian people that everything is fine. They are moving at a rocket speed towards development, and in their own imagination, things are better for the Zambian people, and yet the Zambian people are facing a different situation.
Other party members also gave alternatives to challenges affecting various sectors.
So lero musegule vimaboda vicha, musegule vimaboda notubugwira vantu mumenzo kuchipata ukulero mtengo wa chiboi soya beans ni 4 kwacha 50 ngwe. Very manje abantu fertilizer nzo waya amutolo vachita chani. If it was Dr. President Sirumbelelo vamutolo sema tapasa matching orders vakangiwa.
If in 1 year 6 months the New Dawn government can manage to recruit 30,000 teachers, can manage to recruit 11,200 workers in 18 months, can they feel sure to recruit 4 million young people, engage them into production? 1 year 6 months, no salary, no pay. Zambians to say we have inherited an economy which is sick. So what we want is you, the Zambian people, you, the young people, with your energy, to come on board, sacrifice for the betterment of Mother Zambia, the way our forefathers, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda and other freedom fighters did. That's what we should do as well. We should learn from our forefathers.
We want to remind him that the Leadership Movement Party is here, and we will be here as we always do, always calling for such platforms so that we're able to echo our voices and give checks and balances to the government and also to the nation.
The party has urged the current administration to take time and consider implementing viable suggestions from various stakeholders, including the opposition, for the benefit of the country. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka. Quite interesting there, Miriam. I think we heard the Leadership Movement Party, they're just adding their voice to many other stakeholders that have been talking about the cost of living in Zambia and talking about production. Where are we missing as a country, Miriam, when it comes to production?
We have seen that the Leadership Movement Party have been calling so much on the issue of production, you know, the need for...
They've been known as the production manifesto.
Exactly. And you know what? Somehow, Zipporah, that we should also, you know, the checks and balance they give to the current administration, these are something that the current administration should look at. We need production in this country. Like I said earlier on, Zipporah, we're a country that has been so much dependent on importing things. So almost everything we're importing as a country. This is a danger. That's the more reason why we're not developing, and that's the more reason why we keep on getting money from other countries, you know, to sort out our issues. If we are going to credit money from other countries, bring it into Zambia, it needs to be invested. We cannot credit money and then bring it to Zambia and start we employ, I don't know how many health workers, how many teachers. Where is the money that we're going to pay for them come from? Taxpayers' money. Okay, this is a danger. We need a country where we go the industrialization way of life. We have seen a lot of shopping malls being built. We have no problem against that. But the other thing that we should look at as a country is to build more industries, to start manufacturing our own products so that we can sell to our neighboring countries, Botswana, Malawi, South Africa, so that in exchange we can gain some revenue. Yeah.
And quite interesting. The Miriam just now take a very short commercial break just to give our viewers out there a short breather as they prepare questions and contribute to the topic.
Salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ have come. You lift one hand and I'll lift the other hand
because our man of God in a surrendered position is more dangerous than an entire army. In the name of the Lord Jesus, today, God will remove every form of iniquity, every ounce of iniquity that has been around you. Then I said, behold, I have come to do your will, oh God, to fulfill what is written of me. So that I can understand that when Mary is in that crowd, part of her is crying for them to choose Jesus over Barabbas. But she doesn't understand the mystery of redemption. That Jesus did not come to the world to die a normal death, because a normal death does not do anything for you and I. Your great and mighty power, the heavens declare. Your great and mighty power, you're greater than the greatest, you're mightier than the mightiest, you're stronger than the strongest, better than the best.
The Standing in the Gap team, in conjunction with Francis Miles Ministries International, presents the Prayer Rally Crusade and Overnight, to be held at Woodland Stadium from the 25th to the 26th of May 2023. Time from 16 hours till 19 hours, and on the 26th of May it's an overnight prayer meeting from 18 hours till 06 hours in the morning at Woodland Stadium. Speakers include Apostle Sunday, Pastor Whooper Sinyangwe, and Dr. Francis Miles from the United States of America. You can't afford to miss this, and don't forget, it's on the 25th from 16 hours till 19 hours, and on the 26th, an overnight prayer meeting from 18 hours to 06 hours in the morning. You can't afford to miss this. Admission is absolutely free. It's not over until God says it's over. It is fire for fire.
The 2022-2023 farming season has been described by many stakeholders as chaotic due to the late delivery of farming inputs to farmers under the Farmer Input Support Program (FISIP). This has been attributed to a change in suppliers of the inputs, as well as the removal of beneficiaries who have been on the program for more than 5 years. As a result of these changes, many farmers across the country have been lamenting the late delivery of the inputs, with some in certain parts of the country not having received the full packages as of January 2023. A poor harvest has therefore been predicted by agriculture experts, as many farmers planted late, while many of those who had seed did not have fertilizer. A farmer in Kasenga ward of Tronge district in Lusaka province, Andrew Chulu, says the prevailing situation not only puts the country at risk of a poor harvest, but will also negatively affect farmers and their families at personal level, as they live off the profits of selling the crops. Mr. Chulu has therefore called on government to consider giving out relief food to cushion hunger among families that will be affected.
But what I'm thinking from the government is we need the meal for the aid. Then we have people who cannot afford. We have that on record. So what we are thinking for the government that we are going into February, when we have people will be, we have maize, but nothing. So we need the meal for the old people, for those who are not to afford, so the government can come and assist our farmers in Kasenga ward. So we have a problem. Only a few have managed to have some products on the farm. Because we delayed that, fertilizer will come as usual. We didn't expect that the new system will start this year. So people were relaxed.
Kasenga Ward Councillor Bright Sacholi has also spoken on the prevailing situation.
The issue of payment, that's what, deprive our community. But the distribution itself, okay, it was okay. But in terms of just payment, which it has taken a long overdue for our community.
It is hoped that the agriculture sector will stabilize come the next farming season, and that the inputs will be distributed on time, both to the benefit of farmers and the nation at large. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Chongwe District.
Quite interesting views there. We have seen, that a lot of people have been complaining about a lot of things. Hunger, the issue of farming input, quite a lot of stuff, Zipporah. And I don't know, but one thing we should also realize, being fair, to the current administration, is that we have seen, some part of improvement in the ways they are handling certain things, but a lot of lot of ordinary citizens do not understand what exactly is happening. If we are going to explain certain things in a very complicated way, Zipporah, a lot of people will not understand you. Hence the complaint, like we have seen a lot of people complaining why certain things have not changed, why certain things have not reduced. These are the complaints. Yeah.
Definitely quite interesting there, man. It's that we're talking about many people who are actually anticipating, a low yield with what happened. And, with the Food Reserve Agency announcing that they'll be buying a 25 kilogram bag of 50 kilogram bag of white maize at 280 kwacha, I think that has brought a lot of happiness to farmers, because they say, they had a number of factors: climate change, the farming inputs were expensive.
It has brought a lot of happiness to farmers, but also a lot of different stakeholders have brought in concerns, stating that this now will also have an impact on the cost of mini meal. We will find that a 25 kg bag of mini meal will be maybe selling at 300 kwacha, between 300 and 350 kwacha. Those are the concerns.
Or just start a business. Or just start a mini meal business. That mini meal, that's one area that has a lot of money. When we talk about mini meal, there's almost a lot of Zambia's neighbors depend on Zambia.
Yes.
The issue is that they export permits, this and this. Everything has become tough now, but it is really a good opportunity for us to invest into going into the future.
Quite interesting. Anyway, we hope that moving forward, Zipporah, as we approach towards December, we'll be able to see a lot of improvement. We'll be able to see people no longer complaining about the high cost of living. We'll be able to see these issues being addressed. And this is what a lot of people have been calling for. After they ushered in the new administration, a lot of hope was placed that the current administration will improve the lives of the people. Will see a reduction in the cost of living. A lot of people will be able to improve their livelihood, and also not forgetting the issue of our debt restructuring, clearing off our debt. Yeah, because this has also been a huge impact on our country's economy.
And I'm just now taking a look at one of our other stories that we did, concerning, the price of food items here in Zambia and hunger issues, as we get ready to welcome our guest here on the set. The use of graphs by the head of state during his engagement with the media on 18th May 2023 has sparked a lot of debate in the country, with some stakeholders stating that this is important as it gives a clear picture of how the economy is performing, and others indicating that a large population of uneducated citizens were not considered as they could not follow. Others still have been indicating that many citizens are only interested in affording food and not in technical explanations of how well the economy is performing, the likes of Father Anthony Salangeta of Regina Pass's Catholic Parish in Chawama, who allegedly made the sentiments on Sunday during mass service.
GDP, Millennium Development Goals, Zambia will reach Zambia reaching amasapu yangu. Narumba magrafu. Kwa misi grafu, kwa misi ruto shigawamanye. Kwa misi kujafi, kwa jack, ruto shigawamanye. Nilipate mwalelu. Kuisa parish, not low. No.
The ruling United Party for National Development, UPND, through its Religious Affairs Committee chairperson, Reverend William Jombo, has responded to the sentiments.
Those poor people, every other Sunday, they come to church with gifts in form of food, foodstuffs, cooking oil, meal, eggs, goats, and all those things are presented and given to the priests, and they live on that. Why should the same priest in turn, turn and castigate or say these people are poor, and why should and blame government for it? I think rather than look to government for everything, we must know that as Christians and as clergymen and women, we have a responsibility to help our congregants, to encourage them, to inculcate the spirit of hard work, the spirit of investment, to inculcate the spirit of working together to ensure that we can reverse poverty in this country, and not to go to the pulpit and put a blame on a leadership that is doing so much to reverse the poverty levels in this country have. So
he has advised the church to show leadership through offering sound advice and not what he has termed as playing politics. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
Salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ have come.
You lift one hand and I'll lift the other hand, because our man of God in a surrendered position is more dangerous than an entire army. In the name of the Lord Jesus, today God will remove every form of iniquity, every ounce of iniquity that has been around you. Then I said, behold, I have come to do your will, O God, to fulfill what is written of me. So that I can understand that when Mary is in that crowd, part of her is crying for them to choose Jesus over Barabbas. But she doesn't understand the mystery of redemption. That Jesus did not come to the world to die a normal death, because a normal death does not do anything for you and I. Your great and mighty power, the heavens declare. Your great and mighty power, you're greater than the greatest, you're mightier than the mightiest. You're stronger than the strongest, better than the best.
The recent upward adjustment in the maize purchasing price, as announced by the Food Reserve Agency FRA, that it will be buying a 50 kg bag of maize at 280 kwacha. Various stakeholders predict that these would lead to an increase in mini meal prices. The previous price that FRA was purchasing maize from farmers was at 180 kwacha. Opposition Patriotic Front presidential aspirant Dr. Chishimba Kambuli fears that a bag of mealie meal may shoot to 350 kwacha for a 25 kg bag. The concern is that the country's staple food may become difficult for consumers to purchase in future. Dr. Kamlias, however, laid down some suggestions to the UPND administration.
So in my view, the most ideal situation could have been to fight that the production of fertilizer is cheaper, the cost of seed is cheaper, we reduce on the cost of fuel for production, we reduce on electricity. So that for argument's sake, if a price of fertilizer dropped from 1,000 to about 400, and you still maintain the price of maize at 180, the farmers will still have value for their money. But this, we are waiting to see what the economist president is going to do. Because politics of appeasement should come to an end. We should look at the total holistic cost of production against the selling price.
Meanwhile, he has reminded the UPND administration to improve the lives of citizens as promised during their campaigns. The
chairman of the FRA was saying that to increase price of mealie meal because we are still giving you maize at 180. But the millers are going to start buying the maize at above 280. How do you expect them to continue giving you at the odd price? That is why I've said, and I want to say it again, leave politics to us politicians. If you're a businessman, go and do business and make profits. Profits is to balance. The farmers must make money, the poor people must survive. That is governance.
Earlier, Dr. Kambuli appeared before the Lusaka's Magistrate Court. The former opposition leader of the National Democratic Congress Party has been charged with defamation of unlawful assembly and riot contrary to Section 74 of the Penal Code, Chapter 87 of the Laws of Zambia. He is jointly charged with Patriotic Front cadre Charles Kakula. The duo, however, could not take plea in their case as the Director of Public Prosecution has not yet issued consent to have their matter prosecuted in respect of the second count. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News. Now being joined in studio by Chilubi, a member of Parliament, Mulenga Kowe, who is helping us discuss our topic this morning, where we are looking at the cost of living in Zambia. Is the current administration doing enough to address this situation? Good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, madam, and good morning.
Good morning, Honorable.
Yes. We're glad to have you on set.
Thank you so much.
How is Chilubi?
Chilubi is fine.
Going direct into our main topic this morning, do you think the current administration, in as far as addressing the cost of living in Zambia, have we seen them now going in the right direction or doing enough to address that?
You see, governance is about attitude. The current attitude that President Hichilema and the team have attached to governance is worrying. Why I say so is that even when they want to insult people who are talking about graphs, they should reflect. Because when you talk about the way they are presenting things to the people and what is actually happening, they are parallels. What do I mean? President Hichilema did talk about the issue of debt when he was in opposition. And I think Zambians need to know that as far as he talked about debt, he has not stopped borrowing. He's actually borrowing at a alarming rate. If you go and pick a book called Borrowing Plan from the Minister of, a small booklet from the Minister of Finance, you find that in 1 year, 4 months, the government actually is already going into $6 billion. $6 billion, not kwacha. And the PF left about 13.5 billion, debt, external debt. And of course there was the internal debt that remained. And that was condemned. At the rate that UPND is borrowing, it means that if we are to go by the 5-year term, they would have borrowed 15 billion plus. I'm starting from the debt because I want to show that even what they are talking about, to talk about the issue of inflation, it's not there, it's artificial. because inflation can only be defeated properly when you are balancing up on the export and import as one of the factors. Also, debt servicing. Zambia, yes, failed to service the debt in 2020, and I think the situation is known to all of us. And that has been blamed on the PF. Yes, when we look at the lockdown that happened in the whole world, you cannot compare it to Ukraine and Russia war. We had a lockdown, COVID lockdown, where all the economies of the world were at a standstill. Let me come back to the graphs that the president was presenting. I'm told he presented from 1973 or something like that, because certain things I think are making me feel lazy even to read. But let's just talk about 2012 to date. The only negative growth that has been recorded, which is a negative 2.8%, it's in 2020. And what was attributed to that is the issue of COVID. And from that time, the economy started peaking. Even when the economy peaked in 2021, he wanted to claim that it's his effort. And I think later on, when you look at that, the PF, if you look at the structure of the economy that they embarked on, they had structured certain issues around the IDC, which is the government on the machinery to control, to participate in the economy. And among companies, we had Marco Polo and many other factors coming in. I think you remember that even after liquidation of KCM, packages, the proceeds from copper were controlled directly into Bank of Zambia. So certain improvements were recorded. And even when you talk about the export cover, it was a clean sheet. And I think when the UPND came in, I think you saw that there was employment of 30,000 teachers and 11,000 health workers. The money that was used was special drawing rights, which affected the reserves. And when you say you are improving on paper, and what is on the ground is something else. Essential commodity prices are going up and the like, even with the increment of which benefits the farmer. I'm also a farmer. I'll benefit in terms of the floor price that has been pegged. But that has an effect on the byproducts from the maize. Because maize is just a base material for byproducts like feed, stock feed, meal, sample, and many other factors that come from there. Meaning that if you tell me, if you ask me, that is the economy likely to improve anytime soon, I'll tell you no. As the economy improved better than it was when they took over, I'll tell you no. Those are the answers. It is just in these graphs that the economy is improving. It's not improving in actual sense. Because you see, even when we start insulting people that are talking about Rutosh, and if people don't eat, the economy doesn't move. A wealthy economy is a healthy economy. And it starts with human capital. If the human capital is well fed, they are moving faster, which promotes efficiency, and many other factors are in place. Moving faster also means that we are bringing in the component of cost of energy, which is very high. Electricity tariffs are high. Then we also have higher fuel prices, which affects the means of production. So if you are to ask me and say, is the living conditions well, the human, let me not talk about any other animals. I'm talking about human socio-economic conditions. They are not well in Zambia. The economic justice is bad. Social justice is bad. So when you talk about such, these are things that the president is just supposed to listen. Unlike lecturing to us of how successful he has been. If we are to get his success, if my president, I'm a Zambian, I'm supposed to benefit from his leadership. And if we are to get his success, it doesn't even need to explain to anyone and mock people about those things that he was floating. I have NAPSA 20%. What is the alternative? I have education. Even when we talk about education, when I can tell you that education sector, health sector, and agriculture sector are almost collapsing, and I can justify. It's just a
Maybe you can justify.
Yes. When we talk about collapsing, yes, there's free education. which we appreciate. Like for instance, me, I would appreciate that in my area, more children should be enrolled. But it has put pressure, the way it has been introduced, it has put pressure on the education system, even when those grants are being sent. For instance, the concern for this country has been pupil-teach ratio. The introduction of free education has made the ratio very worse. Let me just say worse, because there's no such thing like very worse. Has made worse or worse the situation, because one teacher is encountering 100 pupils. Assimilation levels. And for your own information, when we talk about the education system, I know that there is what you call nursery, which could be referred to as preschool. But Zambia is primarily a 3-tier education system, which is primary, secondary, and tertiary. And formative stage is within the issues of primary school, where a child also is exposed to socialization process, because the child spends more time at school than they spend at home. Within those, let's say a child is enrolled at 7 years, according to our policy, and they go to school, and fill up those schools, where you find that the classroom is going up to, and the sitting arrangement. Even when we are talking about CDF, to be fair, it's a good initiative in a way, but it cannot compete currently with in providing desks, especially where you have, for instance, Chirubi. We have in excess of 7,000 to 8,000, desk cap, and then you want to replicate, and then other areas of development in Chirubi are also waiting, because the children are closing embankments and many other factors. You cannot just attend to the desks only. You have to attend to make sure that the children also close safely, so that they don't drown, and many other factors come in. So if you just pay attention to utilizing the 28 million, which is also directed, you have what to use on chief's policy, police vehicle, and many other factors from the central position. Now, when you look at that scenario, there is the desk pupil ratio, teacher pupil ratio, there is also book pupil ratio and the like, where maybe if the children have been supplied with some books which they are supposed to read, they are competing with one book, and not in the rural areas. It's not traditional. It's not fashionable for people to be buying books for. They would bank to find these books at school. So whereas the policy of free education has worked well on the enrollment rates, the issue of retention rates are waiting. The issue of progression rates are waiting. You have seen that there is also an exodus from the public schools to private schools. People are paying now to private schools. Why? Because they know that in a crowded classroom, what a child is supposed to learn. And we are talking about bringing children together who are coming from different backgrounds. Even when it's a socialization process, that particular environment, it suffocates human character in terms of development. So there are a lot of factors. When you talk about the agriculture sector, the way it has been run with a lot of corruption around the compound and many other factors, which does not guarantee delivery. I know that there is a song where people are talking about now we'll be manufacturing the compound and so forth and the like and so forth. Even just the distribution. You cannot say all size fits all. Zambia has got 3 ecological zones. There is first ecological zone, which includes the issues of southern and western. Second ecological zone, the central part of the country. The third ecological zone, the northern part of the country. And these respond differently in terms of rain patterns. They respond differently in terms of soils. So when I say the agriculture sector has collapsed in a way, it's the planning around the agriculture sector, which is not taking us anywhere. When you talk about the health sector, because of presumably thinking those who are supplying medication and many other factors are PF, and certain decisions were made. Up to now, we do not have the essential drugs in the hospitals. People are just facing prescriptions. The report was presented in Parliament by a Parliamentary Select Committee, which is in charge of health. It was presented that the drug supply level is at 53%. And it's supposed to be between 70 to 80% for us to achieve universal health coverage. But that was rejected violently by the Minister of Health herself, including some of the members of the members of Parliament for UPND, who later on regretted having done that. So when we are talking about things not working well, that is what we mean. So if we venture into rhetorics, as it may be, and just talking about things that we dream from our confinement of rooms and the like, and so we are running the country properly. No, truth be told, we are not in the right trajectory. If we were on the right trajectory, it would have had a trickle down by now. UPND by August would turn 2 years. But Zambians don't count it that way. They count 2021, 2022, 2023. They are counting 3 years. No, but according to the electoral cycle, they'll be turning 2 years.
Yes.
But according to the Zambians, they'll be turning 3 years because of the budgets presented. First budget was presented 2021, second budget was presented in 2022, third budget was presented 2023. So there are 3 budgets that we have, because the president himself told us that you charge us based on our first fruit, which is the budget. You know that the first budget was at first 173 billion. Kwacha, and then later on it was increased because of the supplementary budget to 195 billion. What came out of that? What came out of that? Then we had we now have about 167 billion. We are yet to know, and I know that soon when we start sitting, we will be facing a supplementary budget. Because of certain hiccups here and there. And we are yet to start, when we go into September, we'll be discussing the 2023 budget, 2024 budget. Time is moving. So when we want to play with papers to solve the physiological needs of the people, it's dangerous. It's dangerous. Even when we draw those graphs, I think the only, I think I've already mentioned, that the projection of the projection of what has been pledged. If you go in the Constitution, I think if my memory serves me right, it should be under Article 94 of the Constitution, where the president is actually supposed to present to Parliament the international agreements that he has made, and then we approve. That is when I'm going to know that the president has actually achieved. But the fact that the president has not even come to Parliament to present the international agreements that he has signed, he keeps on projecting with his graphs and say, this is what we have done, they have spread so many billions and so forth. Those billions constitutionally are supposed to come to Parliament for approval, that they have signed this international agreement. If I'm lying, you go and read. Just start reading from on the executive powers. Start reading from Article 90. You can even go up to Article 100 of the Constitution, so that you understand how government is supposed to operate. So when we talk about this factor, it's not that we are being, devil's advocate for nothing. No. So the graphs should have a trickle-down effect with Pamela. The president used to say Pamela, and used to lift those Pamelas, Tuma cooking oil, Tuma sugar, and the like. Let him lift now. Because those things are still there. They are
what
still
alternatives do you have to offer to the UPND?
Well, the alternative, I can tell you that the economy is a complicated package. I have to be fair to them. There is the debt burden, a debt mountain that has to be solved. Without that particular question of solving the debt yet, we cannot have very solid but there must be a way of solving that problem. Unlike just learning to IMF and many others. The IMF is not only there is need to renegotiate these loans that we owe, especially from China, which is 6.5 billion plus. And then we also need to know how to dismantle the the domestic debt, which is almost also almost 14 billion plus. So if we go by that, then we will start going in a better manner. But we also need to solve the domestic arrangement in agriculture, in health, in also education, by making sure that the policies that we forward are not putting pressure on the economy. Because once even when we talk about agriculture, learning agriculture, agriculture still provides a good money spinner window that if we manage it well on around crop rotation, which is going also to solve issues of edible health, which is also one of the essential commodities that are going so high. We have been told soya we won't buy, this we won't do, this. So when we talk about such, what kind of a country that we need to learn? So we need to learn a multi-crop arrangement in terms of, well, let us not just depend on maize and everybody is thinking about meal. We need to broaden the scope of carbohydrates. No, let's bring in potatoes, let's bring in rice, so that even the production of these crops, we watch them of how they are unfolding. Then the common man is catered for. And when we talk about running the economy, the question of infrastructure also comes in. For instance, in the 2023 budget, there is only 600 kilometers of the roads allocated with 250 million. And I think that doesn't give me hope in terms of. So the alternative is to make sure that around issues of infrastructure, because the country needs to be opened. We need to continue opening the country so that since the country is a liberalized economy and more of an informal sector, participants in the private sector are supposed to be, because government is only a dream facilitator. It's not the engine itself and the like. It facilitates the environment. So we need to have incentives that should attract a lot of participants from the private sector to grow the economy, so that issues of unemployment can be tackled mainly with government plus the. Currently, the only solution is to employ, people, young people, using the already strained annual budget of the government. We need to provide an atmosphere where the private sector start coming in and participate. But that can only be done when we have got lower taxes, and when we also have lower energy prices, which means fuel and electricity, because that adds on to the means of production. When we produce more, we employ more, we sell more, and so forth. Currently, the manufacturing plant is very bad. We need to look at that. Value addition of all the products that we produce. We have a lot of minerals that we produce in the country, but there's no value addition. We are always exporting. We also have a lot of agric produce that we produce in the country. We are not adding any value. When we talk about things like water bodies, we are not utilizing the water bodies because we just have about 10 fisheries, major fisheries, if not 11 major fisheries. But we have got a massive water bodies. So it's a combination of factors. It's not all sides fits all. That if time allowed me, I would have what? But it's not your problem that time cannot allow us. It's more of my problem.
No, we'll definitely cover most of that in the news. Maybe you can just give your concluding remarks there to the viewers.
Well, I think I would like to say to the UPND executive, because I'm also part of government. If I said government, I'll be responsible. They should listen from the citizens. Let them not get excited with the 2.8 they got. It's no longer there. It's no longer there. And I think it's important that we need to start listening from each other. We learn this nation. We are co-governors in learning this nation. And I think let us put premium on issues of social justice, so that our people, as they wake up in the morning, they are waking up with hope, not just to face graphs and frustration where there is no hope that given. I think the time that UPN was voted in, it gave a lot of hope to young people especially. That hope which is not been, and I think they saw some light at the end of the tunnel, but it had diminished. So I think there's need that we pull up socks And those can only be done by starting listening to alternative voices. UPN is just running the country in stewardship. Zambia is a representative democracy. So they should not think that they are all wise and they cannot listen from voice of reason from any other party where they are even victimizing and demonizing everybody who speaks about the conditions of the human conditions we are passing through. So I think when we don't want to talk, let us not depend much on international or not international what. These people that we depend on, they are also running their countries. They have also their interests in this country. The only problem we have, this mind fix of wanting, solutions coming from outside to solve our domestic problem, is not going to help us. Let us have Indaba in Zambia and listen from the Zambians of how we can solve our own problems, such that those that are supposed to help us from, we are not an island, those that are supposed to help us from outside can only supplement our efforts. Not everything ideas we borrow the money, we borrow everything from outside. Then we are channeled. Currently, we don't even know how our state house is being done by the Greg Mills and then the Tony Blairs of this world. Because they're the ones controlling the system, that is known. And I think that's not patriotism. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Honorable, for joining us. It has been quite an interesting segment. And to our viewers out there, thank you for those who joined us via the calls and those who also left us messages on Facebook. We are discussing the cost of living in Zambia and as well as reactions to the presidential press briefing that was held. So this is where we do come to the end of our breakfast show today. Unfortunately, we do have to come to an end. We wish we could go on, but remember to join Patrick Soko tomorrow as he takes you into politics. From us, it's good morning.